Funny thing about timing. Everyone wants to control it, but no one really understands it. You make plans, set goals, draw timelines on paper, thinking life's supposed to follow your little calendar. But it doesn't. Life waits until you're tired, until you've given up, until you've stopped checking the clock. Then suddenly it happens. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today. The day that looks like every other one. The day you stopped expecting anything at all. That's the day everything turns. You spend so much of your life thinking you'll be ready one day. You tell yourself you'll start when things calm down, when you have more money, more support, more confidence. You build excuses out of fear and wrap them in logic, convincing yourself it's wisdom. You call it patience, but deep down, it's hesitation. The truth is, you're never really ready. You just learn how to act anyway. Because the moment that changes, everything rarely waits for your approval. It just arrives. Uninvited, unexpected, unstoppable. That's the thing about divine timing. It doesn't care about your schedule. It doesn't care that you're scared or tired or not in the mood. It shows up when it's supposed to, not when you feel prepared. You can fight it, you can question it, you can try to delay it, but when it's time, it's time. The universe doesn't need your confidence to move. It only needs your cooperation. Readiness is a myth created by people afraid to leap. Nobody who ever made history was ready. They just understood that hesitation kills more dreams than failure ever will. You wait and wait, thinking something magical will click inside you. Something that tells you it's safe now. It's the right time. But safety isn't part of the deal. The leap always comes before the net appears. That's why most people never get where they're supposed to go. They wait for peace before moving, not realizing peace is found after the move. Divine timing demands trust, not understanding. It asks you to step into the unknown when your hands are still shaking. You see, timing doesn't need your permission. It needs your participation. And when the moment finally arrives, you'll know. It won't come with flashing lights or an announcement. It'll come disguised as an ordinary day. You'll feel that quiet nudge. That inner voice whispering, now. Not tomorrow, not when you're stronger, not when it makes sense, now. And that's where everything inside you will want to resist. Your mind will flood with reasons to wait. Fear will disguise itself as logic. It'll tell you you're not ready, not capable, not equipped. But the funny thing is, the fear only gets louder when you're closest to your moment. That's how you know you're there. Life has this way of testing your obedience before your blessing. It won't ask you to understand the plan. It'll ask you to trust the timing. You've spent so long trying to predict when your turn will come. But timing is not about prediction. It's about preparation. Every delay, every disappointment, every detour. It wasn't wasted time. It was preparation time. You've been hardened, trained, reshaped in silence. The waiting wasn't punishment. It was construction. But the building process ends when destiny decides. It's time to activate what's been built. That's what today is about. activation. You'll never feel completely ready for what's coming because it's meant to stretch you. You've outgrown the comfort zone that once felt like protection. That's why it's falling apart. The people who used to fit your story are being removed. The doors that once opened are now locked. It's not rejection. It's redirection. The timing has shifted, and you're being pulled to the next chapter, whether you feel ready or not. And that's terrifying, because control feels safer than surrender. But the truth is, you can't control what's divine. You can only align with it. You'll look back one day and realize the moment everything changed wasn't when you planned it, but when you surrendered. When you finally stopped forcing things to happen and allowed them to. When you stopped waiting to be ready and started trusting that you already are. Because readiness isn't about having everything figured out. It's about trusting you can handle whatever comes next. That's the real test. And maybe that's why it has to be today. Maybe that's why it couldn't wait another week, another year, another lifetime. Because you've been prepared without realizing it. Every broken plan, every sleepless night, every closed door. It was all shaping you for this exact moment. You think you're standing still, but everything around you has been aligning for this day. The timing is perfect, not because you are, but because the story demanded it. When life decides it's time, it won't knock twice. It won't wait for your courage to catch up. It'll drag you into purpose by force if it has to. And in that moment, you'll understand, readiness was never the requirement. Willingness was. Because the divine doesn't choose the most prepared, it chooses the most surrendered. And when it moves, it doesn't ask how you feel. It just moves. You know what's funny about people? They beg for change, cry for miracles, pray for something different, and when it finally comes, they panic. They call it chaos, bad luck, coincidence. They look at the storm and forget that it was their own voice that called the thunder. You wanted movement, didn't you? You wanted a sign, a shift, something to shake you out of the routine you've been dying in. But when it arrives, it never looks like the picture you had in mind. It doesn't come with gentle music or angelic light. It comes as disruption. It tears down what you've built with your fear. It wrecks the comfort zone you worshipped. Because real change doesn't knock politely. It breaks the door. And that's the part most people can't handle. They say they want transformation, but what they really mean is they want a prettier version of what they already have. They want a miracle that doesn't require loss, a blessing that doesn't require breaking. But that's not how this works. Growth doesn't come in silence. It comes with noise, confusion, discomfort. It's the sound of your old life collapsing, so your real one can finally begin. You can't keep asking for something new while clinging to the old with both hands. The universe doesn't reward indecision. You either let go or get dragged. When divine timing decides to move, it's not asking your permission. It's announcing your evolution. And that's the moment where most people hesitate. Because it doesn't look like a gift. it looks like destruction. You lose friends, jobs, relationships, your sense of control. You think you're being punished, when in reality, you're being repositioned. You keep asking, why now? Why me? But the real question is, why not you? Why not now? Because what's happening isn't chaos, it's alignment. And sometimes, alignment looks like everything falling apart before it all falls together. You ever notice how the best things in your life started with something breaking? You had to lose your balance before you learned to stand differently. You had to watch something crumble before you discovered how strong you really were. That's the joke no one gets. Pain isn't always punishment. Sometimes it's preparation. The collapse is part of the choreography. You think you're being buried, but you're being planted. You think it's the end, but it's actually the setup for the beginning you were too afraid to start. Every breakdown was a rehearsal for this moment. Every disappointment was a test of endurance. Every delay was timing in disguise. You can't outrun destiny, you can only delay it. And the more you fight what's meant for you, the more painful it becomes. That's what divine timing does. It forces surrender. It takes away your control piece by piece until you finally understand that you were never supposed to be in control in the first place. You were supposed to trust, to flow, to adapt. Because when it's time, everything you tried to force will suddenly move effortlessly. The right people show up, the doors open, the pressure lifts. Not because you did more, but because you finally stopped resisting. You can always tell when it's time. The air feels heavier, your spirit feels restless. Nothing feels right anymore, no matter how hard you try to pretend it does. You feel like you're being pulled by something invisible, something you can't explain. That's the signal. That's your cue. You can ignore it, drown it in distractions, pretend you don't feel it. But the pull only gets stronger. Because when the moment has been written for you, nothing can erase it. You can delay your destiny, but you can't destroy it. The script's already done. You're just catching up to the scene. And here's the thing about divine timing. It's not patient. It's precise. It doesn't arrive when you're ready. It arrives when you're needed. You may think you're late, but you're right on schedule. Everything that tried to break you was right on schedule too. It was training. Every heartbreak, every failure, every no you ever got, they were all appointments with purpose. You thought they were roadblocks, but they were mile markers. You're not behind, you're aligned. You're exactly where you're supposed to be, even if it doesn't feel like it. The truth is, divine timing doesn't make sense until it's over. You'll look back one day and laugh at how perfectly everything fit. You'll see how the things that hurt you the most were the very things that positioned you for your rise. You'll realize that the bad days were actually blessings wearing masks. That's the joke of it all. Everything you thought was working against you was secretly working for you. You were being shaped, refined, pushed into place. And now the scene has shifted. The pieces are aligned. The waiting is over. You can feel it, can't you? That quiet hum in your chest. That tension before the storm. That's how you know something's coming. Something big. Something you didn't plan, but somehow always knew was meant for you. The universe doesn't whisper that kind of energy for no reason. It's telling you the delay is done. The alignment is here. The clock has struck. It's not a coincidence. It's not random. It's the moment everything starts to make sense. Even if you don't yet understand how. People keep saying they're waiting for the right time. Waiting for the sign. Waiting for a door to open. Waiting for life to somehow line up perfectly before they take a step. But that's the problem. You think time is your servant when it's your master. You think you can control when it's right. But when the divine clock ticks, it doesn't ask for your schedule. It doesn't care about your comfort. When the moment is written, it happens. Whether you're ready or not. And that's where most people lose it. They spend so much of their life preparing for a tomorrow that never comes, rehearsing courage instead of using it. You ever notice how people talk about their dreams like they're fragile? One day, they say, when things settle down. But the truth is, things never settle. They just shift. The perfect moment doesn't exist. The right time is an illusion people invent to justify their fear. Because as long as they're waiting, they don't have to act. They can stay safe in the fantasy that one day everything will magically align. But life doesn't work like that. The universe doesn't hand you peace before it gives you purpose. It throws you into the fire and dares you to rise from it. The real timing is always inconvenient, always uncomfortable, always now. You see, when it's time, you'll feel it. Not in your head, but in your bones. It won't make sense. It won't look logical. It'll feel like a push from something unseen. That's how divine momentum feels. Chaotic, urgent, irrational. It's the kind of energy that keeps you up at night, whispering that you can't stay where you are anymore. But you'll fight it, won't you? You'll argue with it, bargain with it, tell yourself you're not ready. You'll convince yourself that maybe you misread the sign, that maybe it's not the right moment after all. But deep down, you'll know. You'll know it's not fear keeping you still. It's comfort pretending to be logic. The moment you say, "I'll do it later," you lose time you'll never get back. Later becomes never. Tomorrow becomes regret. You think you're waiting on life to change, but life's been waiting on you. You think you're stuck because the world's unfair, but you're stuck because you won't move when it tells you to. The truth is, the opportunity doesn't vanish. It transforms. The door you ignore doesn't stay open. It turns into a wall. The people who could have helped you move on move away. The timing that was meant for you gets reassigned to someone who was brave enough to take it. You don't miss blessings. You delay them. And the irony, the very thing you're afraid to lose by taking the leap is the thing that's suffocating you where you stand. People cling to stability like it's safety, not realizing that stillness kills faster than failure. You can't grow in a room that's too small for your spirit. You can't breathe in a space you've outgrown. The longer you stay, the heavier the air becomes. That's why the universe starts shaking your life, to remind you that comfort is not peace, it's paralysis. You call it anxiety, but it's really your soul trying to break out of the cage you built around it. You ever seen how storms work? They don't wait for permission. They just arrive, destroy what's fragile, and clear the ground for something stronger. That's what divine timing does. It wrecks what's weak. It exposes what's fake. It leaves you standing in the ruins of your old life, forcing you to build again with truth instead of fear. That's not cruelty. That's cleansing. The destruction you call tragedy is the only way the new world can be born. Because some walls can't be painted over. They have to be torn down. Some doors don't open. They need to be kicked in. People always ask for signs, but what they really want are guarantees. They don't want guidance. They want control. They want to know how it'll end before they start. But that's not faith. That's fear disguised as planning. The truth is, the sign you're waiting for isn't outside of you. It's the discomfort inside you. The restless heartbeat, the sleepless nights, the gut feeling that you're meant for more. That's the signal. That's heaven knocking. It doesn't come with lightning or voices in the sky. It comes as a whisper that grows louder the more you ignore it. So when divine timing says, move, it's not just an invitation. It's a command. You can resist it, delay it, try to hide from it, but it'll find you. Because what's meant for you has your name written in energy, not ink. You can't erase it. You can run, but you'll only end up back at the same lesson, the same test, the same mirror reflecting the truth you tried to avoid. That's how divine cycles work. They don't move until you do. And maybe that's what today is. Maybe that's why everything feels louder. Maybe that's why the world around you seems to be rearranging itself. It's not falling apart. It's aligning. The pressure isn't punishment. It's preparation. You're not losing. You're being launched. The timing isn't random. It's right on cue. You've been praying for change, and now it's here, disguised as discomfort. You asked for a sign. This is it. The call has been made. The time isn't tomorrow or next week, or when you feel ready. It's already ringing right now, waiting for you to pick up. People think the breakthrough comes with fanfare, like the sky will open up, and some holy light will announce that their moment has arrived. But that's not how it works. The big shift, the divine turning point, it doesn't always come dressed in beauty. It often comes disguised as chaos, confusion, discomfort. It sneaks in quietly while you're busy complaining about how unfair life has been. You'll wake up one morning and everything will feel off. Your thoughts, your surroundings, even the people around you. You'll think you're losing control, when in truth, control is what's being taken from you, because it's what's keeping you small. The divine doesn't ask you to be ready. It forces you to be real. It's strange, isn't it? How people pray for change and then panic when it arrives. You say you want better, but you cling to what's familiar, even if it's killing you. You ask for growth. But when the soil starts breaking, you scream like something's wrong. You can't become new without first being undone. You can't step into destiny without letting go of the identity that was built for survival. That version of you, the one that smiles through pain, that hides the scars, that keeps pretending it's okay. That version can't come with you. You've outgrown it. But letting go of it feels like dying, doesn't it? That's because transformation always feels like death before it feels like resurrection. See, when the divine says it's time, it doesn't consult your emotions. It doesn't ask how many nights you cried or how long you've waited. It just moves, suddenly, powerfully, without warning. It starts removing things, closing doors, breaking attachments you swore were forever. You'll look at the wreckage and think you're being punished. But it's not punishment. It's positioning. The things you thought were falling apart are actually falling into alignment. You're not being buried. You're being planted. But from the inside of the dirt, it's hard to tell the difference. That's why faith isn't about seeing. It's about trusting that the darkness has purpose. And oh, people won't understand. They'll think you've lost it. They'll call you ungrateful, selfish, unstable. They'll say you changed. And they'll be right. You did. That's the point. You can't rise while staying the same. You can't evolve while still explaining yourself to people who are comfortable in cages. They want the old you because the old you made them feel secure. The new you threatens their comfort. So they'll try to guilt you back into your old skin, back into silence, back into being small enough for their approval. But that's not your home anymore. That's your grave. You can't live there. You'll notice how the pressure builds right before the breakthrough. Everything seems to go wrong at once. You'll feel like you're being tested beyond your limits. That's not coincidence. That's divine timing at work. Pressure exposes weakness, reveals truth, and destroys illusion. It's the only way you find out what's real. When life squeezes you, what comes out is who you really are. And if you've been pretending, this is the moment the mask cracks. The real you comes forward, the one that doesn't care about image, that doesn't perform for validation, that doesn't need to be liked to feel alive. That's the version the divine has been waiting for. It's a funny thing. When the shift starts happening, everything that used to matter begins to lose meaning. You stop chasing validation, stop begging for attention, stop trying to prove your worth. The silence that once scared you becomes sacred. You start hearing yourself again, your own thoughts, your own truth. You realize how loud the world had been, how much noise you mistook for purpose. And in that quiet, you find the power that was always buried beneath fear. You realize you never needed anyone to notice you. You just needed to notice yourself. That's when alignment begins. Not when the world applauds, but when your soul finally stops whispering and starts roaring. And when that energy starts moving through you, everything responds. Doors open that logic said were locked. People appear that you never met but somehow needed. Opportunities align in ways that make no sense. That's not luck. That's order. Divine order. It's what happens when you finally stop resisting and start receiving. You realize that all the waiting, all the pain, all the heartbreak wasn't wasted. It was all choreography, a setup for the rise. Every rejection was redirection. Every loss was pruning. Every delay was preparation. You were never being denied. You were being developed. That's what people miss. They think blessings come wrapped in comfort. But no, blessings come in the form of lessons first. You're built before you're blessed. You're refined before you're revealed. And when that moment finally comes, when the shift happens, it's never gentle. It's loud. It's fast. It's disruptive. Because destiny doesn't walk politely into your life. It crashes in, clears the room, and demands that everything fake get out of the way. It's not the sound of destruction. It's the sound of deliverance. You've been asking for a sign, and maybe this is it. The storm isn't against you. It's announcing you. The sudden change isn't the end. It's the entrance. The discomfort isn't chaos. It's calibration. You're not losing your balance. You're being aligned with something bigger, something bolder, something you were built for all along. It always starts quietly, doesn't it? No announcement, no warning, just a shift. 1 minute, you're surrounded by stillness, and the next, everything begins to move. You can feel it before you can see it. That strange vibration in the air, like reality itself, is about to break into something new. The funny thing is, people think change comes with noise. They expect drums, signs, dramatic moments that everyone notices. But that's not how real transformation works. Big moves always happen in silence. The loudest miracles are born in the quiet hours when no one's watching. The divine doesn't need attention. It needs alignment. You've been waiting, pacing, questioning why nothing seems to move. You've prayed, worked, sacrificed, and still, it felt like everything was standing still. But stillness isn't inactivity, it's preparation. Every delay, every quiet season was building momentum behind the scenes, like a storm gathering power beyond the horizon, unseen but inevitable. The moment it breaks, it won't ask for your permission. It will just move. Fast, ruthless, relentless. And all you'll be able to do is hold your breath and realize that everything is happening exactly as it was always meant to. It's strange how people confuse silence with abandonment. They think because they can't see progress, nothing's happening. But silence doesn't mean absence. It's the sound of gears turning in another dimension. The kind of work that happens when you're not looking. Think of it like this. When you plant a seed, you don't sit there shouting at the soil. You let the darkness do its work. You let time and pressure reshape what's hidden. Because the moment that seed breaks the ground, it's already survived battles you never saw. That's what's happening right now. The unseen has been working louder than the visible. You might not believe it, but what's coming has already started. It's not waiting for approval or applause. It's unfolding piece by piece, quietly, deliberately. People will look at you tomorrow and call it sudden. Out of nowhere, they'll say. But you'll know better. You'll know it wasn't out of nowhere. It was out of the silence. Out of the prayers no one heard. Out of the nights you thought were wasted. Out of the tears that no one saw. That's the irony. The moments you thought broke you were actually the blueprint for what's being built now. And when the shift finally reaches the surface, it'll be undeniable. Not because you forced it, but because it was always written to happen this way. Every rejection, every disappointment, every closed door was positioning you closer to alignment. People left not because you weren't enough, but because their part in your story was done. You were meant to stand alone for a while, so you could hear the silence speak, so you could finally realize that power doesn't come from the noise of validation. It comes from the quiet certainty that you're ready. When big things start moving, you won't have to chase them. They'll find you. They'll collide with your timeline like they were waiting for this exact hour. It's like the world has been secretly holding its breath, waiting for you to stop doubting, to stop trying to fix what's already been decided. Because once alignment begins, resistance becomes pointless. You can't slow down what was destined to happen. You can't undo what was divinely designed. You can only receive it, even if your hands are still shaking. The strangest part is how fast everything shifts once it starts. What took years to build in the dark suddenly erupts in the light. People who overlooked you will start remembering your name. Opportunities that were impossible will show up without warning. Doors that were sealed will open without you knocking. And it won't make sense. Not logically, anyway. But that's the beauty of divine movement. It doesn't operate by rules. It rewrites them. And oh, how people will talk. They'll try to understand it, explain it, reduce it to coincidence. They'll say you got lucky. They won't realize that luck had nothing to do with it. It was the unseen that did the work. The quiet seasons, the heartbreaks, the waiting rooms, the times you thought you'd missed your chance. It was all part of the current, pulling you toward this exact moment. You'll notice how the energy shifts, how suddenly everything you touch seems to move. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. The universe responds to someone who finally believes they deserve what they once begged for. That's when the unseen turns visible. That's when what's been promised becomes tangible. And it won't need validation. It'll just RB. Because when the unseen moves, it doesn't whisper. It roars through results. The kind that silences doubters without confrontation. The kind that announces itself without explanation. The kind that proves the quietest seasons were the most powerful ones. That's the irony. All along, while you thought nothing was happening, everything was already being set in motion. And now, it's coming fast. Faster than you can prepare for, louder than you can process, and greater than you can predict.